Rabies is probably too strong and it's getting buffed. So now instead of explaining why, I'm going to show why it's probably too strong. So imagine this scenario. You are level 14. You just got enough skill points to max out Rabies and get 2 perks behind it so that it spreads faster and does more damage over time. And then you enter domain tunnels looking like something like this. And I'm just not really going to speak for a second because I think the gameplay is going to explain. Kind of hungry. So, to explain what you're seeing on screen, Rabies' base amount of damage is really high, and its first perk behind it makes it do more damage over time, and that bonus is going to be at 30% multiplicative damage, and that's going to get raised up to 60% multiplicative damage over the duration of the skill. And you also want the perk that makes it spread more quickly because it ends up doing so much damage to trash mobs at certain power spikes while you're leveling that they might die too quickly if you get the other perk where it does way more damage more quickly. You know what I mean? It does the same amount of damage, but in a smaller duration of time. Here's why it's probably too strong. The aspect that they're adding to Druid this season reduces Rabies' cooldown every time it infects a new enemy, from the ranges 0.3 seconds per enemy to 0.6 seconds per enemy. Now, the cooldown on Rabies is 12 seconds. So if I'm doing the math correctly, it's 4. So at a minimum roll, that's 40 infections of Rabies will reset the cooldown. And at a maximum roll, that's twice as much. So that'll be 20 infections of Rabies. Now, in domain tunnels, there's like hundreds of enemies just in a really small area. Here's the interaction that was kind of hard to figure out why it was going to be too strong, that a lot of people might not know, is that every instance of Rabies is counted separately. When it comes to infection, when it comes to damage dealing, they stack their amount of poison damage on top of each other. It's not the same effect. They're individual effects of Rabies. So say something's getting 50% of its health done over time by Rabies, and then you infect something else with Rabies, and then it comes to the thing that's getting 50% of its health of damage dealt. It's actually going to jump up to 100% of its health damage though, because it has 2 instances of Rabies on it. Now, here is, if you extrapolate from that, while you're running through maps, as you can see here, the playstyle is run and gun, maybe stop every once in a while if there's an elite or if there's an extra healthy mob. But if you scale Rabies specifically, or use it to supplement Pulverize like I'm planning on doing, because there's a lot of synergy, funnily enough, for werebear skills and poisoning, damage, and like intermingling those two together. If you scale those well, you're going to be dealing insane amounts of damage. Obviously the single target is pretty lacking, which is why I'm using it to supplement Pulverize, and it's another shapeshifting skill, so you're going to get all the synergies from that going on, and Rabies benefits from the Earth Sign Strength node, as well as the Nature's Reach passive node, which those two together make Rabies deal a just shit ton amount of damage, because most things being dealt damage by Rabies are far away from you, right? So, I mean, it just works. It's just 18% multiplicative damage because of the passive that lets you slow enemies that are poisoned. And then also, when you turn Pulverize into an Earth skill, everything's going to be slowed anyway, so the Earth skill damage multiplier passives are also going to be up 100% of the time. And then also Rabies scales with a lot of the aspects that you're going to be using with a Pulverize build as well. It's just crazy. I think I'm going to call it Cocaine Bear, or Psycho Bear, probably Cocaine Bear, because it's just wild. It's just a wild build, just a bear running around infecting everything with Rabies, and it's honestly pretty sick. The clear speed is ridiculous, obviously. You're probably going to play this build at some point. If you ever have played Druid and you want to play Druid, this is really the way to go, at least between the levels of 14 and like 45, essentially. So it basically fixes the early game leveling of Druid. And if you're lucky enough to drop the new aspect for Rabies, you're probably going to be able to get several instances of Rabies, just like whatever. like just whatever. On like elite mobs and nightmare dungeons, just multiple instances, and it already almost one-shots elite mobs after you scale it up a good amount. There's more synergies and there's more stuff to talk about with the build itself, but I don't want to make this video too long. I hope that you, after seeing this, are going to enjoy Rabies as much as I'm going to enjoy Rabies. And I think Druid leveling is never going to be a meme ever again. And then also I don't think Druid's ever going to be a meme ever again. Even though I do still think it's the worst class this season overall, this brings it real close. It brings it up a lot. It makes me want to play it rather than just playing it because I choose to play. You know what I mean? Anyways, I'm going to get out of here. Have fun with it, everybody, because I definitely am going to.